Okay, good evening. I'm back. Got my microphone. Good to see y'all tonight. We're going to be looking again at this study on the Antichrist in our larger study of just some things about the end times. And Lord willing, I'm working on it. It's a bigger topic than I thought. All topics are bigger than I think they are. But we're going to look at the millennial kingdom of Christ, our next study. So let's jump in. First slide, just some review stuff. The use of the term Antichrist only appears in the writings of John, particularly his letters, 1 John, 2 John. And then we have references to false Christ in Jesus' very well-known sermon, the Olivet Discourse, the Matthew 24, what I think of. Beware, one of the first warnings that he gives, false Christ. We have little a Antichrist at work today, and sort of where we're going to go tonight a little bit. And then it is really the Antichrist, the activity of the Antichrist, that sets off the 7 years of tribulation. It is his arrival that starts the tribulation period. It is his abomination of desolation, setting himself up as God, to be worshiped as God. It's the middle of the tribulation period, differentiating between just the simple tribulation versus the great tribulation, 3.5 years, 3.5 years. And so we like just a little bit, and we're going to look at Daniel chapter 12, and then we're going to transition over to the book of Revelation. So Daniel chapter 12, we want to look at that verse real quickly. Passage, a couple of verses really. The last couple of verses in Daniel. We'll look at, go ahead and go to the next slide. We'll look at verses 11 and 12. It says, and from the time that the daily sacrifice is taken away. So seemingly at the first 3.5 years of the tribulation period, the Antichrist is going to allow the Jews rebuild the temple, reestablish Old Testament worship, but then the Antichrist is going to break that covenant with Israel and take away those sacrifices. And then the abomination of desolation, there's your terminology, as Jesus says, and when you see the abomination of desolation as written by Daniel the prophet, well, here it is. That's what he's talking about. And then he says there will be 1,290 days. And then blessed is he who waits and comes to the 1,335 days. And we've talked about this before, but we're going to talk about it again because I was reminded sometimes I go too fast, and I apologize for doing that. And I tried to actually prepare less material tonight. I was telling that when I prepare material, I feel like this is the teacher in me. I feel like that I have to cover the material, but I'm going to slow down. I'm going to slow down a little bit. So there's 30 days. 1,260 days is 3.5 years. And you must go by the lunar calendar. 360 day, 30 days times 12 is a 360 day calendar based on the moon, not the orbit of the earth orbiting the sun. It's how many times are the moon going around the earth. So that's the difference. And so the prophetic calendar is 1,360 days. 360 days. So 3.5 years is 1,260 days. And so you see here we got 30 more days. And I was taught, and I still probably think this is a good idea, that this is the actual wrath of God period, which is just the last 30 days of the tribulation period as seen in the bowl judgments of Revelation 15 and 16. But I want to show you something else. I always like to get new ideas. Next slide. There's another idea for this 30 days that I got by just reading books, and it makes some sense to me, and I'll just let you decide whether you like it or not when you're talking about a lot of this prophecy. Share ideas and if you like it or not. So we're going to look at Zechariah chapter 12. Zechariah, it's another one of those obscure little prophetic books, which I need more learning in the minor prophet books. They're not minor only in the sense that some of them are shorter, but they have a lot of good prophetic information in them. Zechariah 12:10. Zechariah 12:10 reads, "And I will pour out on the house of David and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplication." And listen to this. "Then they will look on me whom they pierced." Who's that? You good students, good students. "Yes, they will mourn for him as one mourns for his only son, and grieve for him as one grieves a firstborn." Death of a child. "In that day there shall be a great mourning in Jerusalem, like the mourning at Hadath Rimmon in the plain of Megiddo." And I know when we see Megiddo, we're going to look at that a little more tonight. But that's actually talking about when the good king Josiah, did I put that up there? I don't think I did. 2 Chronicles chapter something verse something. King Josiah. He was one of those odd little good kings at the very latter end. He was the boy king, eight years old, and then he became the great king. Well, when he died, there was a great mourning in Israel. And that's what it's talking about. Verse 12, "And the land shall mourn, every family by itself, the families of the house of David by itself, and their wives by themselves, and the families of Nathan by itself, and their wives by themselves." And I think that's basically just indicating that this is going to be, everybody. It's not so much that we're going to get all in these little mourning groups. I think it's showing everybody. That's the idea. Everybody is going to mourn. And what are they mourning? Jesus, whom they pierced. Is Jesus dead? Well, of course not. Why are they mourning? Because he came. And they recognize that they rejected him. And there is going to be a great mourning in the nation of Israel. Now here's the interesting part. And I just throw it out there and see what you think. The typical days for mourning in the Jewish culture is 30 days. Could it be at the end of the tribulation period, Jesus comes, second coming, establishes his millennial kingdom? For 30 days, the nation of Israel mourns because of their rejection. And let's just say it. I didn't say it. Peter said it. "Whom you crucified." God made Jesus both Lord and Christ. So even Peter, one of theirs on the day of Pentecost, pointed a finger and said, "You crucified the Lord." And they're going to mourn for 30 days. Just a thought. Just a thought. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. But it's just something to consider. So anyway, moving back, there's 1,335 days. That's 75 more days than 3.5 years. 45 more days beyond the 30 days. And you know, as I read the book of Revelation, it hadn't been too long ago as I started in chapter 1 and didn't quit until I got to the end. And man, outside of a miracle, and that's certainly possible when you're talking about Jesus, this earth is going to be a mess. I mean, a mess. It's going to be burnt. It's going to be split. There's going to be holes in it. One of the passages says the islands leave. I don't know if the islands sink or the water rises. I don't know. The mountains go away. So if the Lord can refresh this earth suitable for the millennial kingdom in 45 days, it's not beyond His ability. I know that. But that may be what we're talking about, is that, I mean, how long does it take to get rid of all the dead bodies? I mean, I know Jesus could go and they're all gone. I know that. But this may be a 45-day period of just transitioning out of the tribulation period into the millennial kingdom. So, anyway, judgments of nations, Matthew chapter 25, and that's not talking about governments, it's really talking about people. And there's going to be the judgment of people, and there will be some survivors that will, and I'll have to figure all that out when we study the millennial kingdom. But as I understand, there will be some who will enter the millennial kingdom in their physical body. I don't know about you, but I'm planning on coming in my glorified body. I think, can I say I know? I know that I'm going to be coming back with Christ at His second coming. Not the rapture, but His second coming. And if you're a believer, so will you. But there will be people who will survive the tribulation period, the 144,000 Jews, for example, and they will come in their physical bodies. But there will be a judgment of those people that come out of the tribulation period, and that's the judgment of nations in Matthew 25. Now, we're going to go to Revelation. Am I right? Yeah, I am. I'm using my notes tonight, Vicki. All right. Revelation chapter 12. And I thought about when I started this, I said, we're going to do 12 and 13. Then I got through with 12. And I said, that's enough. That's enough. Right in the middle of the book of Revelation is this weird little chapter, Revelation chapter 12. And it's sort of a pause, and it's sort of to say, let's go back a little. Let's remember something. And so all of us tonight, let's go back a little, and let's remember something. There has been a great war, a universal war going on since time beginning between God and Satan. Now, this is not the yin-yang thing where we got the good God and the evil God. Satan, although he is called the God of this world, he is not really a God. He may be a God to some people, but he is not the God. He is not equal to God. He is not the evil God that balances the good God in Hindu thought. No. Satan is a created being. He is an angel, fallen. He fell because of pride. He fell because he wanted to be God. And since that time, there has been a war going on between God and Satan. And we just happen to be the people caught in the crossfire. We live in between the war zone, or within the war zone between God and Satan. And this is what this chapter is all about. So let's just jump in and go verse by verse, line by line. A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Sounds a whole lot like what Joseph dreamed. Joseph's dream, and what was that dream about? Him, his mommy and his daddy, and his brothers, the 12 tribes of Israel. Now we know that this woman is the nation of Israel. Verse 5, she bore a male child. So we know that this woman is the nation of Israel. Okay, I'm not using my notes anymore, Vicki. So let's see this. First of all, we're in this great war. and explains why we need the armor of God to defend us against the attacks of Satan. Now, next slide. So, verse 1 is the woman Israel. And verse 2 says, she was about to give birth. Then being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. Then I'm going to skip for a moment down to verse 5. She bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. That tells us who the child is, doesn't it? It's Jesus Christ. Israel giving birth to Jesus Christ. And Israel did, through the virgin named Mary. And you open the New Testament, and what do you see? In the book of Matthew, chapter 1, what do you see? And this guy begat this guy, begat this guy, begat this Jew, begot this Jew, begot this Jew, all the way down to, and Mary begot Joseph. I needed more coffee. That's all there is to it. Mary begot Jesus. So that's where we're at. We got Israel giving birth to Jesus, verse 3. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great, fiery, red dragon, having 7 heads, 10 horns, 7 diadems on his head. His tail drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth to devour her child as soon as it was born. Well, who is this dragon? If all Bible verses were this way, I would love every one of them. Verse 9, the great dragon was cast out, who? That serpent of old, called the devil and Satan. This great dragon is Satan. And what is he doing? He is at the birth of the child, waiting to eat that child. Description of how Satan, from the very beginning, has tried to destroy Israel and her child for centuries. Think of some ways that Satan did that. What's the first one you think of?
Esther.
What?
Esther.
Esther and Haman tried to destroy the nation of Israel. What about in the life of Jesus? What's the first one you think of? Satan trying to kill Jesus. What do you think of?
Herod killing 2 years and under.
Bethlehem, all the boys. I mean, when did he not try to kill Jesus? All of the events of his life where they were going to stone him, they were going to arrest him, and then they crucified him, which they thought. I never have figured out Satan. How much does Satan really know? Is he listening to me right now? Does he know he's defeated? Has he read the Bible? I know he quoted the Bible. Or is he thinking like, if somebody tells me that, you're done, you're finished, and I said, no, I'm not. I'm not done. I'm not finished. And maybe he is just defiant, saying, well, that may be what God says, but God don't understand what I'm about to do. Now, the Bible does say he is only evil. Satan is no good. There is no good whatsoever within him. He is only evil. He is the evil one. So, how he is to try to destroy Israel, destroy the child. The first attack that he made was throughout his ministry. The killing of the babies. They had to run down to Egypt. All the different ways that Satan tried to Judas Iscariot, right? What did Satan, the scriptures say, John says, and the devil entered him. And Judas Iscariot was Satan's ploy to destroy Jesus. And he's tried over and over and over. Well, where's that Jesus now? And the child, verse 5, well, I'll read all of it. So she bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. Now that's not happened yet. That's the millennial kingdom. And her child was caught up to God and his throne. Where's Jesus today? Hebrews 12:2. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, disregarded the shame, and is now set down at the right hand of the throne of God. That's Hebrews 12:2. So Jesus is in heaven. He hasn't won. Next slide, please. The second attack is the tribulation period. Now we learned over in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, there's a restraining going on. Whatever you think that is, we just know there's a restraining going on. If Satan could, he would put his Antichrist on the throne, in power. Let's get this show on the road. He would, but God won't let him. God is restraining his force. Eventually that restraining force will be removed, and then there will be an all-out attack on Israel. How does he do it? He makes a covenant with Israel. What's that do? I'm guessing, this is Philip Miller theology now, okay? I'm guessing. If you want to kill a bunch of wild pigs, what you need to do is put out a bunch of bait and then have this contraption that throws a fence around them. Now you got them. And you can just slaughter them all. So if you want to kill a bunch of Jews, what do you need to do? Get them all back to come to Israel. Bring them all back to Israel. And that's what he's going to do. When he makes a covenant with Israel, he's going to lure all the Jews back to Israel. And then what? He's going to throw a fence around them and he's going to slaughter them. So, an all-out attack, verse 6. I need to pick my words a little better. I know, I'm sorry. Then the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared by God. I'll come back to that. That they should feed her for 1,260 days. How long is that? 3.5 years. 1,260 days, 3.5 years. Is that the first or the second? I think it's the second. The second half of the tribulation period is going to be an all-out attack on the nation of Israel. Now, if you'll look with me at verse 13 for a moment. Now, when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, we'll talk about that, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. I used to kind of turn my nose up a little bit at all the people who said, you know, the tribulation period is really all about Israel. And the more I actually read the Bible, I see where they're coming from. I see their thoughts. It is, I don't know that it's all about Israel, but a whole lot of it is about Israel. Okay? So, now, God protects the nation of Israel. At least 144,000. We can go back to Revelation chapter 7, and really before all the really bad stuff gets started, God says, now hold up, before you harm the earth, and I'm going to mark 12,000 from each tribe, 144,000 Jews. And seemingly that's for the protection of this remnant of Jewish people. They are saved. Revelation 14 says they are the redeemed of the earth. And I think I know what redeemed means. They're saved. So these are saved Jews. I can't tell you, I'm a very literal Bible interpreter. Well, what does 144,000 mean? One more than 139,999. It means 144,000. Exactly? Why not? I'm going to say yes. I don't know of any other thing to say. I don't do symbols well. So you can make the Bible say whatever you want to if you make it symbolic. So it's 144,000. Okay, so we got all-out attack, satanic attack on the woman, because the child's in heaven, sitting at the right hand of God. Now it's just the woman left. So all-out attack on the woman for 1,260 days. And oh, by the way, Daniel told us that the saints would be given into the hand of the Antichrist for a time, times, and a half time. That's 1,260 days. That's 3.5 years. So God's going to give Israel into the hand of the Antichrist, empowered by Satan, for those 3.5 years. Now, verse 7 tells us that there is I don't know if it's bigger, simultaneous war among the angels. I know that I live in a very little world. I think Arkansas is all there is. I don't know of any other place. I don't know. I really do, but I mean, we don't really think about what's going over in China. We don't think about what's going on in India. We don't think what's going over in those little South Pacific islands over there. You know, there's people over there too. So this is much bigger than Arkansas. But look at verse 7. It says, and war broke out in heaven. This is so big. Satan, I mean, this is his final, he's been planning this for eons. And not only does he attack the earth, but he attacks heaven itself. In verse 7 it says, and war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought. See, the dragon, the devil, he's got angels too. What's their other name? What are devil angels? Demons. They're demons. And they are real. Is demon possession real? Yes. Is demonic activity real? Yes. It's not an invention of Hollywood and horror movies. It's for real. Have you ever seen a demon? No, not that I know of. Have you ever seen an angel? No, not that I know of. Do you believe they exist? Absolutely. And seemingly, we just have hints and specks of it. This has been going on for a while. Daniel actually even talks about some of this, and we might want to just take a sneak peek. So hold your Bible ribbon at chapter 12, and I'll go over to Daniel just for a moment. And I'll show you that Daniel, well, not Daniel really, he recorded it, but the angel Gabriel was coming to see Daniel. And here's the storyline. Remember, Daniel was praying, and he read the book of Jeremiah, and he read about those 70 years, and he counted it up, and he said, hey, we're about to be released from Babylonian, Persian captivity. And then God said, yeah, you were reading about 70 years. Let me tell you about 77s, or the 490 years. And all that while Daniel was praying, the angel Gabriel was trying to get to him, to tell him what he was being told. Now, over in chapter 10 and verse 13, I'm going to back up to verse 11. 10:11. So this is Gabriel, and he said to me, O Daniel, man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak to you, and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you And while he was speaking these words to me, I stood trembling. And then he said to me, do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard. When you were praying to God, help me to understand this, God, God heard you. And I have come because of your prayers or your words. But I've had a problem. It's been rough getting here. Verse 13. The prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. Who's the prince of the kingdom of Persia? Well, if we see that in the next line, behold, Michael, one of the chief princesses, and we know chief is ark, and princesses here is talking about angels. The prince of the kingdom of Persia must have been some demonic angel. And this demonic angel withstood Gabriel for 21 days. And the only one who could come and help was Michael, the archangel, who, by the way, in Daniel 12:1 tells us that Michael is the protector of Israel. Michael the archangel is the protector of Israel. And so there is a war going on, and seemingly the demonic angels were trying to stop the heavenly angels from coming to Daniel to tell him the rest of this book. 20 and 21, and then he said, do you know why I have come to you? And now I must return to what? To fight with the prince of Persia. He fought me coming, and then I know when I go back I'm going to have to fight him again. I don't know how often that's going on. We only get a bit here and a bit there, but there is an angelic war going on in the heavens somewhere, and it's going on in chapter 12, Revelation chapter 12. So Satan and his demons gather up, and they go and they attack heaven. And Michael and his angels fought against them, and I guess God finally said, enough is enough. And we see verse 8. But they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old. What does that refer to? Serpent of old. Garden of Eden. Now we know for sure that's Satan. Called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Now I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to look at somewhere. Well, I'll just stop there. Looking at my notes, bear with me. Simultaneous attack in heaven. Next slide, please. Yeah, Satan's cast out of heaven sometime within the second half of the tribulation period. Now, that's what I think. Now, the next verses seem to indicate to me that kind of late, because it sounds to me like that now what they are announcing is, verse 10, then I heard with a loud voice saying in heaven, now salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ have come, for the accuser of our brethren who accuses them before God day and night has been cast down. Seemingly late in the tribulation period, Satan is cast out. Does Satan have access to heaven today? Yes. Because what does he do? This verse tells us, for the accuser of our brethren who accuses them before God day and night. Seemingly he has an office in heaven. He has his own little office in heaven, and he just stays there, and every day he goes and bugs God, and he says, do you see what your people are doing? And the only biblical reference I have to that is Job. Job. What did Satan do? He accused Job of what? Only serving God because God blessed him. God, the only reason Job serves you is because you're just kind of like a heavenly vending machine for him. Just put your money in and get what you want. You just bless him all over, and God says, okay, I'll prove you wrong. If you start thinking philosophically too much in that, your head starts spinning, but it's there for us to learn and understand. God put Job to the test, a man who was called blameless, to prove Satan wrong. I think for us to teach us about righteous suffering, I think for us to show us how we can overcome Satan. How do you overcome Satan? Obey God. Because that's what Job did. Job repented, he humbled himself, he obeyed God. Now look at verse 11. So he is the accuser of our brethren, who accused them before our God day and night, and he's been cast down. And they who? The brethren. Those people that Satan accuses all the time. They overcame him. Who? Satan. By the blood of the Lamb. Now, to follow this verse, how did Jesus defeat Satan?
The Word. It is written.
He went to the cross. He died. That's how he won. Now, I know the resurrection. I know I'm not taking that out, but he died, and it was through his death that he won. Now, listen to the rest of this. They overcome him by the word of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they did not love their lives to death. To the death. I hope this doesn't happen to any of us. But when we die, we overcome Satan. We win. We win. If you give your life as a martyr, you win. Satan thinks, that's the way I'll defeat them, I'll kill them all. Who was it? Tertullian, who said, the blood of the saints are seed. The blood of the saints are seed. What does that mean? The more you kill, the more get saved. Just how God works. And we have a bloody trail behind us of people who have been killed by the empowerment of Satan, which in turn has taken the gospel all over this planet. It's kind of like trying to put out a fire. Let me tell you how not to put out a fire. Spread it. I'll tell you one time. See, I thought that, because I had done this before, you take a leaf blower. You can put out a fire with a leaf blower. But it depends on how hot that fire is. So I wanted to put this fire out, and I put a leaf blower on it, and guess what I did? I caught the whole yard on fire. Well, Christianity works that way as well. Do not try to scatter Christians and try to put them out. What do? You just spread it. And what did the persecution do to Christians? Spread them all over the planet. Guess what happened? We got Christianity all over the planet. Don't try to defeat a Christian by killing them. Because what does that do? It just fertilizes more seed. And so they overcome Satan by the very thing that he thought would defeat them. He thought that he would defeat Jesus by sending him to the cross. But what in turn he thought was a defeat of Jesus was the greatest victory that's ever happened. This is what I don't understand about Satan. Doesn't he know that? Or is he just too dumb or too evil? Anyway, but this is the battle. And let me get back to my notes here. So go ahead and go to the next slide. So verse 12. So all of those who have been killed by Satan have won. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb. Verse 12. Rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Now these are the heavenly people. Where do you want to be during the tribulation period? There you go. So rejoice, you're in heaven, and you who dwell on the earth, but what? What does the rest of that verse say? Oh, you people that are on the earth. Woe is, I like this word, onomatopoeia. Y'all know what that is? It is a word that names the sound it's naming. The word that sounds like the sound it's naming. Bark, meow, or woe. Woe is, oh. It's like when you have that horrible pain when you get out of bed in the morning. Oh! That's what this word is. Woe to you who are on the earth. Because it is going to be hell on earth. Because why? Listen. It says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you having great wrath, because he knows he has a short time. I don't know, did God say, you got this long, buddy? And then it's over. What's the next thing that happens to Satan? What happens to Satan at the beginning of the millennial kingdom? I've got the statue. Compliments of Van Dyer. It's my favorite statue in my office. It is Michael the Archangel with his foot on Satan's neck with a chain around his neck. And it's the kind of angel that I think angels look like. Angels look like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of the 80s. They're not prissy little things. They're bad and they carry swords. That's the angels that I know. That's my vision of angels. That's the way I see angels. So, Satan's going to be bound for 1,000 years. You got a little time. So do your bidding, and that's the tail end of the tribulation period. And it's bad. And, there. You see those verses, I won't read them all, but the increase of demonic activity during the tribulation period. We got these demons that look like frogs. You see, this is what happens to you when you study way too much Bible. You know what I think of when I see frogs? That's what I think of. One of these days there's going to be a demon that looks like a frog. So, a lot of demons, demonic activity. There's these angels that have been bound underneath I don't know, the Euphrates River. They're going to be released to make way for this huge army, millions of soldiers. But the Lord protects Israel. We've talked at 13, 14. The woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle that she might fly into the wilderness to her place where she is nourished for a time, times and a half time from the presence of the serpent. Israel is going to be given safe haven. Go ahead and go to show the next slide. Yeah, that's what I wanted you to see. Every good presentation has a map. So I got to thinking on this. And I said, wilderness what? Where? And a lot of people say it's in Petra, which is south down below the Dead Sea, somewhere down in there. And it's actually where they hid out during the era of the conquering of Jerusalem in AD 70. And they went down in that area, and they had some places in the cliffs, and they held up there. But here was a thought that I think. The Valley of Megiddo is the wilderness. The Valley of Megiddo is the wilderness. There's Jerusalem. That's where seemingly the Antichrist headquarters is going to be. Why not Israel go to the Valley of Megiddo? Because where did they come at the end? What draws all the armies of the earth into Megiddo? Israel's there. And what happens at Megiddo? The Battle of Armageddon. And that's chapter 16. They gather in this wilderness area where God is protecting the nation of Israel in this Valley of Megiddo. And by the way, it's one of the most fertile areas in the Middle East. It's where all the fruit grows. Number one industry, well, it's not true anymore. Okay, let's go back to the 1970s. 1970s, number one industry in Israel. Biggest money maker in Israel. Going to see the temple. Tourism. Number two. Olives, almonds, agriculture. Actually, technology has overtaken that today. The tech industry is bigger now. But Israel is the leader in irrigation systems. They have invented irrigation systems. They also are the leader in turning salt water into fresh water. What do you call that? Desalinization. Leader in the world on desalinization. Wonder why? They got this salt sea down there. They got the Mediterranean Sea. There's not much water over there. So why not the Valley of Megiddo? Where God protects them. And then this is the bait that brings all of the world to this one battle. And guess who shows up? His initials are JC. Jesus shows up and puts an end to it. And it's a bloody battle. All them. And that's the start of the millennial kingdom. Comments or questions? I'm out of time. Well, there's 13, and we'll do that next week. But Satan, chapter 12. Now we're going to talk about the beast, chapter 13, which is the Antichrist. Any questions, comments? Did I go slower tonight? Hey, it's just thick. It's heavy. All right, let's do some announcements. Ladies' Bible study, and Carolyn was telling me a bunch of ladies have signed up. Good for our side. I'm on your team. So, well done. So, y'all going to get started September 10th. Okay. Thanks for all of you who signed up. I hadn't got the latest numbers. Sunday, we had about 60-something people signed up for the September 15th service. And I'm supposed to have lunch with Alejandro tomorrow for us to talk about the menu. So I'll have something to tell you Sunday about helping us with the fellowship. So Sunday, September 15th, joint service with Alejandro in Primera Bautista Iglesia, First Baptist Church. And we're going to have a fellowship, Independence Day, for a lot of the Hispanic people, probably everyone that will be there. It'll be Independence Day for them. So we'll celebrate with them on that. So if you haven't signed up for that and want to come, please fill that out ASAP. And then Revival Speaker nominations, got several, so thank you for that. I'm going to call that good probably Sunday, after Sunday, and then we'll vote on it the following Sunday. So Just be aware of that. And we're still having people turn in the sign up to serve sheet, so we'd love for you to do that. And Brother Zach's working on getting all that out, so appreciate that very much. Any other announcements? Yes, Brother Anthony.
Just a reminder that the Strategy and Change Committee will be meeting right after service on Sunday. We are dedicating this time. Brother Miller is going to basically lead the Sundays to go over the Child Protection Plan. So we are inviting all church members. It's an open committee to come. Remember that all committee chairs are already part of that committee. So please be there. This will be your time to give feedback on the Child Protection Plan.
Is it to your satisfaction for us to give them time to go eat lunch and come back?
That's at your will. That sounds good to me.
I'm afraid that the child safety policy is going to take a little bit of time. Is that okay? 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. That'll give us a chance to go, so that way y'all won't be starving to death and I won't be holding you from lunch. So we'll go eat lunch and we'll come back. So 2 o'clock, Strategy and Change. We'll get that in the bulletin. Thanks for the reminder. Okay? Yes, Mark.
Teacher Appreciation Banquet on the week from Saturday. So if you're planning to go, please sign up on the list on the bulletin board.
List on the bulletin board. Thank you, Mark. If you would like to help in the serving and cleaning up, thanks to Miss Cynthia Compton. She's taking care of that, getting it organized. So see her if you would like to help serve and clean up. Others? Yes, Miss Cynthia.
There's some meals left in the kitchen.
Meals left in the kitchen. Any others? Okay, good night to our online audience. Thanks for being here. If you have a prayer request, send them our way. Somebody have an announcement over here? Okay. If you have a prayer request, send them our way. We'll be glad to put it on our list. All right, now it's time.